Hey, coach, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Sounds good. Cool.
Okay. How you been, man?
Back and forth, trying to get things done. So how about yourself?
Yeah, man. Tremendously busy, and I apologize. Just been beyond busy, man. Beyond.
Okay,
Nonstop.
no problem. Just keep trying. I said no problem. We'll keep trying to keep it going. So either way, want to get you in what you think about this playing tournament from a team that's 9 wins under, possibly about to put another one out for the playoff spot.
Well, as a coach, I'm all about peaking at the right time. And I think the play-in, of course, is a money maker, it's a money grab. But not everything that is money, not everything that is malintended is automatically always negative. And so I actually like the playing tournament. I think it adds an extra level of excitement, an extra level, an extra chance, but it also rewards teams that maybe have made a late season trade. You look at the Lakers. The Lakers were at one point in time kind of in that play-in consideration, and they went on a heck of a run, and Luka came in. But you have other teams, of course, that have dropped due to injuries. You got like Memphis, who was number 3, and they dropped down into the play-in situation. You look at Golden State, who was in that play-in. They actually had got up to tie for number 3 or 4, lost some games late. But the addition of Jimmy Butler to that team has made them completely different. So I like the play-in because it doesn't put all the emphasis on you got to get off to an early start, but it puts a little more emphasis on growth in the process and how you're finishing up and playing toward the end. What about you?
I feel the same. I really do like it. It keeps teams from automatically tanking right after All-Star break. But the weird one is, say, like for Dallas, they have no choice but to win now. They've already given up their picks. They're not going to get a lottery pick just for coming in 10th. But if they weren't playing hard, if they just walked away, they would have lost that pick anyway because Anthony Davis came back and won 2 games. That's a little toss up to say y'all gonna lose a first round pick, but go ahead and play in the tournament, which we know y'all gonna be out first round no matter what. Kyrie's out. We don't see y'all making it. We don't see y'all winning 2 games, let alone lasting through the first round. So I do believe it should be a good incentive to keep people from tanking, but it also should readjust the way that they do those lottery picks because remember at one time some of the top teams got the lottery pick. So now I think it should probably be a little bit more of, depending on how you do from your last 20 games, that ought to judge how many picks you get into a lot.
Yeah, maybe so. I think they're always readjusting everything. You see the All-Star game go through so many iterations, reiterations, and it's just so tough because unfortunately, as we know about life, no matter how good the mousetrap, you're going to find some mice that are able to get through it, get around it. The cheaters and the people who are intentional about finding the loopholes will always find the loopholes. And so I don't know if there's ever a perfect system. It's just going to always be a matter of readjustment, trying to get it right, having the right intention. And then, like, I'm a Lakers fan. Explain to me how we get James Worthy in the draft. And you already got Magic Johnson, Kareem on the team. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
it, you know. So sometimes it ends up working out for the history of whatever it is. Sometimes, it just makes for better cinema. But it does kind of give you a WWE feel sometimes when you look at how things pan out. Uh, but I don't know. That just lets me know there's a God. you know, It's something better than bigger than us that's just like, oh, this would be great. Could you
Yeah, but
imagine?
like if you think back, like San Antonio's whole future was built off of not making the playoffs that one year, get Tim Duncan, and now look at us, 4 championships. Like, at what point don't you say, all right, I'm a Clipper fan. Don't turn the TV off yet. I'm a Clipper fan. So I don't think we should give up another thing ever to OKC. We gave you an MVP. We gave you multiple picks and pick swaps. We don't even have the guy that we gave you to get that guy. Why are we still sending you anything in the draft? Why are we agreeing to a pick swap or anything else? We barely walked into the playoffs. Y'all was number one. I believe we should be able to renegotiate giving out a few more pick swaps and whatever. But if he doesn't win in OKC, I don't see him winning in a small market. He's going to have to end up in the LA, a New York, a Miami before he becomes a title winner. And Lakers history says, huh?
I said, yeah, he can come to the Lakers.
Yeah, but history shows most stars end up either on the Lakers or Celtics at some point in their life. Shaq was on both.
So coming back to that point, I did my top 5, my starting 5 all time. And my starting 5 was Magic, Kobe, Mike, LeBron, and Shaq. Now, there's a lot of arguables, but when you look at the arguables at the center spot, we can go Will, we can go Kareem. But to my point, it's crazy that 4 out of the 5 of them dudes, and even if you count Kareem or Will, are Lakers. That's just beyond crazy to me. At some point in time in all of their careers, when you go to the top 5 scoring list, you got Karl Malone, you got LeBron, you got Kareem, you got Kobe, and I think you got Mike.
Mm-hmm.
All Lakers except for Mike.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. There's something about that Lakers, something about that purple and gold that just everybody want to taste.
Years ago, I really thought LeBron was considering going to the Clippers because he would be the first guy ever to win multiple championships on teams that's never, ever won a title. That would be a legacy they couldn't take away from you. They can never say, oh, well, you lost this. Look, I brought rings to places that have never had them before.
That's a great point.
Jordan was one team with one coach, with one really nucleus that won his titles. I didn't win around the league and did with everybody. I would give him a number 1 for that. But again, I'm a Clipper fan. I'm still hoping for the best, but 30 games ago, I wouldn't have bet that this team even made the playoffs.
And see, the Clippers to me have been doing some marvelous things. I think Ty Lue probably done his best coaching job because you look at James Harden has been known as a stat guy, but not much of a winner. And the second best player on the team all season was Norman Powell. And because Kawhi was hurt all year. And for them to even be winning games to me was remarkable. And then you bring Kawhi back, and Kawhi has already shown, man, he's good at resurrecting programs from the dead. I mean, Toronto should not have won against Golden State, but everybody got hurt. But a championship is a championship, whatever happened. And then he won the one in San Antonio with the new iteration of the team, the post-Duncan era. So if anybody can do it, Kawhi coming back looking like, he's an MVP candidate right now. I'm not going to say no to the Clippers. They play hard. Coach knows what he's doing. Zubac is like in the top 5 in the league in field goal percentage.
Love that guy. Love watching him play.
Yeah.
And that's one of the ones I will bring up. That is one of the best deals we ever got. Gave the Lakers a ham sandwich and a trip to Cancun for a player we've had for 9 years now.
Yep.
Like he's the
I agree.
long tenure Clipper.
Well, listen to this. Isn't it amazing if we go down the list of how many players have played for the Clippers and the Lakers? I mean, it's
Oh
just
man, way too many.
way too many. Way too many guys that got traded and literally just went across to the next locker room, didn't have to sell their house, kids have to move schools, just right there.
The only one who did make that is Chris Paul. He was going to the Lakers. And the last thing David Stern did was like, nah, that ain't happening.
He put a line straight through that thing. He surely did. Veto.
But I think that's a little bit of what I think that's a little bit of what the NBA needs now.
Say that again.
I kind of think that's a little bit of what the NBA needs now. Somebody who, like, I mean, that's not what the leader does, but every now and then just to throw something you wasn't expecting out there to go, you know what? Not the playing tournament, but all right, whoever wins the All-Star game gets the first 3 games in the playoffs, not the first 2. Like, throw something in there that's like, oh, no. That wasn't discussed in the player agreement. That wasn't anything. But if you're the home team, you happy to have it. If you're gonna be the road team, you like, no, we ain't gonna have no home games. That's millions of dollars lost. So either your players want to play in the All-Star game now, or they're gonna have to beat the other team by 10, 15 games at the end of the season. You pick.
Okay. So then coming back to that point. So let's say, well, they're still doing East and West, right? So we're talking about like, let's say OKC played against, and this is just throwing it out, plays against Detroit. So we're saying if the East won the All-Star game, then Detroit would have home court advantage with the first 3 at home.
They could, but on just that fact, from what I said, OKC has beaten Detroit by like 15 to 20 games.
Okay. So if you win by
I would think that would, that would even it back. Because Detroit should definitely get look up. They ran through their coast through the East, but at the same time, we don't want to penalize the number 1 team from the other side.
Okay. Because I think then you might run into, after the All-Star break, people may not be as hungry, but it still would happen in the West in each conference. You still would want to have that home court advantage. So yeah, people would still play. Yeah, that's interesting. Home court advantage goes to the team that wins the All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
But then you would have to go back to East and West, though. So you have to go away from the.
Right. But that's how it should be, because even in, like, say, the baseball, that's why the All-Star game always mattered. The winner was the one who had home court advantage at the World Series. Yep. Now, I haven't been playing baseball much, but when I look up and see the Dodgers playing with a DH, I go, what is this? What am I watching here? Like we switch up the rules enough to make it the exact same league. I thought the NL and the AL was always supposed to be different, not the exact same league going up against each other. Again, leveling out the playing field, adjusting things to make the league better. But to give a league who used to have good pitchers who could hit a DH now, that just takes away half the job the pitchers need to do anymore.
Well, I agree with that, but I think the Dodgers taking advantage of that. I mean, we remember Ohtani is a Cy Young winner anyway. So that really would give the Dodgers an advantage if they played a team and their pitcher had to hit versus our pitcher had to hit. Mm-hmm. So I think we would have even more of an advantage if you went back to that when Ohtani was playing. Because if he was pitching and dishing and then he was hitting, then yeah, that's a monster. That's a monster.
Right, but then you also got to make the doctors look like, hey, if y'all want to stay in the game, y'all gonna have to pull him off the mound and put him somewhere else, or we gonna try shotguns multiple times to get him off of that place.
Yeah, that's true. I
So,
think he could probably play first base. I think he could probably play first or
well,
maybe play.
Atlanta is 2 points down on Miami with 15 seconds to go. Less than 15 seconds to go.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm gonna tell you something. Talking about Miami, I don't know how they do it because I get you got Tyler Hero and then you got Bam. And to me, Bam is a four, playing a five. He's outsized every single game. Then they got the kid Ware, but I don't know how they win games. I don't know how they stay in it. I don't know how they stay relevant. Spoelstra to me, and I wasn't a big fan of Spoelstra at first, and I think everybody thought it was LeBron pulling the puppet strings on Miami when he was there. You had Wade and LeBron. You got two of the top 20 players, maybe 30 players all time. But Spoelstra has been able to maintain a level of consistency. Losing Jimmy, tough um, in the middle of the season, and he's maintained a level of consistency that is just. I didn't think they had that in them.
I don't want to give Miami too much credit because they're negative. Like, how do we let a team that's 3, 5 games negative make the playoffs? They didn't even make 41 wins. So at the same time, they tanked their own team by putting Jimmy on the bench for all those games. They made sure they weren't going to win by taking a guy out of the lineup just for what he said or how he felt. And then we're going to come back at the end and try to win. Ware been on the team the whole time. They just wasn't playing it. So it's the same thing. Spoelstra gets a lot of credit, but when does he ever get blamed? But he don't build a roster either. He'll probably never build a roster.
So my thing on that is this: like as a coach, we're always told nobody is bigger than the program. We're told that everywhere through, and even the players are now accepting that mantra because their thing is now next man up, right? One person go down, next man up. Somebody got to fill the spot. We can't possibly replace a da 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 da, but if everybody does their part, we'll be able to replace their contribution. So I look at Jimmy, and everywhere Jimmy's been, Jimmy has had a good 3-year run, and then Jimmy has become a malcontent. He's found some reason to find problem with something. Then I ask myself, what has Jimmy ever won? Jimmy, how many championships Jimmy had? None. Now, Jimmy is great for elevating the culture for the first couple years, holding people accountable, pulling them to this level. And then he finds a way to have a problem. So for me, if you have a player who's being disgruntled, then your culture has to be bigger than that player. So rather, in my mind, I'm saying they're not tanking. What they're trying to do is say, Jimmy, you're not bigger than us. You're not going to hold the program hostage. You're not going to be able to come into the locker room, say what you want to say, cuss out the coach, not do the play, and then think we're going to reward you for that. And so I'm a fan of that. And if we're doing that, everything trickles down. NIL in college trickles down from professional players getting outside contracts. NIL in college now becomes high school players now looking for the best offer and what they can get and that mindset. I literally had a person come to me the other day and ask me how at the high school level could a high school support a kid in their efforts to be an NIL athlete. That's what a person asked me. By the way, this was an eighth grader. Eighth grader. Um, and so I'm happy that a program took a stance and said, hey, look, you're one of the best players in our league right now. You are the face of our franchise, yet and still, you are not bigger than the team. You know, and so to me, I say about time, and hopefully that translates because we've been trending the other way. Player empowerment, parent empowerment. I mean, You got kids, you got parents who are sitting there berating the coach in the middle of the game about playing time. You got players
Mhm.
transferring to schools where the kids start. It might be the leading scorer at the school. Look at what's going on with UCLA and USC right now. Players just transferring and leaving and leaving and leaving. And to me, that's just crazy.
It is, but at the same time, is what contract are you really on? Because, like you say, they're getting their education. They've been promised so much travel or expenses. But if, let's just say, me, for example, if I had a chance to be sold, look, you're not going to be here to be a trainer for 3 years. We're going to give you at most 2 years to be a trainer here. But if you come here, we'll pay you $200,000 a year.
Okay.
Now, you can stay where you at, make 65, 75, 100,000, doing all your little side work and whatever else. But once you come here, I'm almost guaranteeing you $400,000. Do you know that you'll be able to make that? Will you be able to make anything like that 5 years from now? So I'm offering you a chance to make the most money you probably will make in your profession. Are you going to take advantage of it now or kick it down the line in hopes that it'll be more money later? For me, I've been around.
Yeah, I think you take it. I don't fault the players. I fault more of the school. You cut out for a second.
Sorry, I said my phone started overheating.
Yeah, but for me, I don't blame the players. I blame the system. I think I don't think a kid should make the most amount of money that they're going to ever make in their lifetime between the ages of 17 and 21. You got kids on the team who will never play professionally, um, but they're getting this money at the time in their life where they're least capable of understanding how to spend it, how to use it, how to invest it, where you're asking them to be the most dedicated into something else, which is their academics and their athletics. And you give them this money and ask them to be able to make wise decisions. To me, that doesn't make sense. When you have players making more money
No.
than the coaches, that doesn't make sense. When you got players who can't come to practice because they got commercial shoots, that doesn't make sense. And then the players are holding the kids hostage and the school hostage by saying, well, somebody else offered me so much money. You did all the development for 2 years. You helped me to become this person. Everybody graduated. It's my turn now. But somebody else is offering me all this kind of money. So either you match it or you lose me. So where's the loyalty? The same loyalty we talk about in high school, the same loyalty we talk about in relationships, the same loyalty we talk about friendships. We're discouraging in every aspect of. There used to be a time when the NBA contract was an NBA contract. Now you got players saying, I'm gonna force my way out and I'm gonna be so disgruntled that you have no choice but to force me, to trade me. And then I'm gonna sit on the bench and make comments, or I'm gonna get on the media and make comments until you got to get rid of me. And I got 2 years left on my contract. How does that work?
It's a weird one because even, okay, just like KD, he's gone basically to every team he's wanted to go to. Nothing has stopped him from doing, but he hasn't done the type of things where we've seen Jimmy Butler. Well, if y'all are disgruntled against me, I'm gonna show you I'm disgruntled against you. If you don't want me to act this way, that's exactly how I'm gonna act. Now, with a lot of players, again, we're in the league, it's a business. If I give you a rule that's for everybody, but I slap your hand on it, why do you think you can keep pushing it and getting away? This is going to affect not just you, but everybody's contract from now on. So when it comes to a player like Ben Simmons, I'm not saying your back never hurt. I'm saying that we're not giving out guaranteed contracts for 4 years anymore. If you don't complete your first year, those next three are going to be thrown into the garbage. You're going to have to come back. We'll have a lockout season just make sure this doesn't happen again, because how many more millions can I promise Zion when he's not on the floor? And then am I going to hold my team hostage because the fans want to see, but pay him another 200 million? What are we really going to have for a team 2 years from now? Am I going to pay him another 40 million for him to sit on the bench? Am I going to give Kawhi 65 million half the year? Like, the numbers have to add up, because if we're not selling jerseys, we're not making a bunch of extra income, we're losing. This is not a winning organization, no matter how you put it, especially if we're not going to get anywhere near a championship. We're not getting anything that sells more tickets, sells more clothing. We're going to end up like the Dallas Mavericks giving up our best player. It has to be a good reason behind it. Now, me, an extra 100 million, giving a player 70 million a year, I'm in for all power and being paid. I don't see a single player that's ever stepped on the floor worth that. Now, 51-49, numbers have to work out, but I can see the owner saying, we're not doing this again. This will be the last time. We give out 2-year guaranteed contracts, and now you're a restricted agent for 3 years in a row, not just 1 year. So if you live out that 1 year, you're restricted for another year. But if we just keep giving away millions all the time, I think it was the Oklahoma football coach left Oklahoma while he had a contract and brought half the team to USC with him. We're talking about loyalty. Huh?
Oh, my fault.
But at what point do we go, look, this is okay for this person to do, but it's not okay when all these other people decide they're in charge? Like, agree. I don't want to be talking to a player every year about if you stand. But if we already gave this other player like Cooper Flag $2 million to know he's not staying, what are we really complaining about? Either the numbers are going to work out for us and we're going to get another $100,000 player, or we're going to get a bunch of players who want engineering degrees, and we're going to make sure all of them graduate with engineering degrees and an internship, something to keep going. So yes, this won't be all the money they make. This won't be anywhere near what they're able to earn, but we're giving you something towards your future, not just today. I am sorry. I think I might lose this because my phone is still tripping, going hot. But I will have a laptop replacement by tomorrow. Hopefully, everything will be fixed. But if we do cut out, let's set it for Wednesday or whatever works best for you.
Are you available? Are you available tomorrow?
Yeah. You know me, I'm every day. I'm just fitting it, whatever fits in the schedule, get it done as quick as soon as possible.
I'm good after 5 tomorrow. If you're available.
Okay, let's say about the same time, 6 o'clock. And I'll make sure I have the laptop ready to go. Because yeah, this thing, it keeps popping up on my screen saying it's overheating. I'm like, I'm not even charging it anymore. So
I get it.
But wanted to ask you on just that aspect, players leaving. How do you develop a new leader?
So that's tough, right? Because I think being a leader is something that is typically something that's organic. There's some traits. I mean, before you even see what a pineapple look like, you got to have a pineapple seed, right? And so you got a bunch of seeds that might look similar to the average person, but each one of those seeds has a genetic makeup that's going to make that fruit when it comes to fruition what it is. I literally the other day watched 2 caterpillars crawl up to the roof, nope, to the ceiling of a structure at my school. And this was actually about 3 or 4 weeks ago, to be honest. The caterpillars were black. I actually was able to see the caterpillars come from the chrysalis.
Mm-hmm.
The butterflies were black. Couldn't see what was inside, but if you saw what made the butterflies, which were these black caterpillars, you have an understanding of what's coming out. Going back to your leadership question, leadership to me is something that is partly innate. It can be developed, but there has to be some traits in there. How do you develop a leader? I think that the leaders are already there. They're looking for some guidance. I think they're looking for an opportunity. I think they're looking for that confidence and they're looking for that direction. I think a good leader is a good follower. That's why it's so tough for elite top players to be good coaches because they don't really understand what it's like to have to motivate through that process, right? They were self-motivated. So that meant that they didn't really have to be motivated externally. But the players who've had to listen, who've had to go through the rough times, who've had to cope with not playing, earning playing, I think those are the players that become the good leaders because they have some intestinal fortitude, they have some grit. Um, I think when you have a player that leaves, you're looking for that player who's already been a voice in your locker room. Even if they were a dissenter to the previous leadership, you know that they have an opinion. They usually put some thought into some things. And so it's just a matter of molding that person into a person who's willing to listen and to toe the company culture. So to me, my leader is a person who uh, is going to be an extension to the coaching staff, who's going to be a liaison, who can tell me what the players are thinking, give me a player's position, but also can tell the players what the coaches are thinking, who's going to be early to rise, late to bed, going to work the hardest, going to lead by example. And I think sometimes you get quiet kids like your walk-ons at a college level who the first kid there because they got to work the hardest, last to lead because they got to prove themselves. They're running hard in every running drill. They got to come in first. They're hungry. And those are the kids to me that I think are potential leaders. Not always the most talented, but the most hungry, the most willing to learn, and the most willing to adapt into the culture. So I think those diamonds um, are waiting to be found in every program. So it's just a matter of looking for them, trying to find them. And once you find them, giving them the confidence and the strength to um, to lead your program. So that to me is leaders. It's leaders. I just think it sucks to have a kid that you develop from a 3-star to a 5-star, and all of a sudden he gets recruited by some big name program or she does because you've given them all of that additional, work. So that leaving aspect really burns me as a small school, high school coach. That's big for me. I have to develop my kids. I don't get the ready-made kids. So I think it's
How
tough when you,
you how you get that across to the parents, kids to say, look, you understand I'm developing you for you, not not just going out to recruit somebody to replace you. That's basically what you're going to that next school is to just replace somebody, or even as coaches used to do back in the day, to motivate another player to play better. You're still not going to get that time. You're still not going to get any more development. Basically, it's like getting the tallest girl at the school. You're not shooting jumpers. You're going to be in one spot. You're going to learn to do a drop step. You're going to learn to rebound, box out. But other than that, I don't need to know what talents you may grow. I'm just going to get what you have, use what you have, and then move on. But most of these parents, you say, even if they're working with their trainers, you're trying to get them to understand is, are they actually getting better? You can go to a better school, you can go to a better division. But if you as a player aren't actually getting better, what are you spending time doing? What is the goal that we're trying to reach? Because they say, what do you play? 35 games in the season at the most with tournaments? That leaves you 7 months of life in which you could be playing games every weekend, training against better players, going to open runs, doing whatever you need. But to say, look, I'm in high school and I'm gonna go to a better school, I understand divisions, but most of the best players we can talk about, from a Dennis Rodman to heck, a Scottie Pippen, you don't even know what the name of their colleges were. Why? Because they went in and beat everybody, went up another level, beat everybody, and then shown that they weren't going to stop going up. They were going to keep getting better. Dennis Rodman was a toothpick when he got into the NBA still.
Mhm. Mhm. So I think for me, it's two sides to it. Like what I think our greatest strength is we pour a lot of love into our kids. And I mean that just in caring about the person and not just caring about the athlete, you know, the grades, the social emotional well-being, the athletics, of course. And then we try to spend a lot of time with our parents. And I think the gift of not getting um, elite athletes, at least at this stage and where we are as a program, is that we don't get elite athlete parent problems, right? So we get parents who they've done their part time and their kids have been, you know, the second or third kid on the team. They're looking for some outside training to get the kid better. The kid has shown some interest and the parents support that. Not necessarily expecting to get much out of it. The kid has gotten better to the point where now they're high school player um, able, but they haven't been raised and reared in, I get to go to the coach and tell the coach what I want, and here's my list of demands. And so because of that, we kind of get a certain humbleness, which for me as a coach is at this stage in the game, a wanted trade-off. I'm willing to trade a bad character or a difficult character, elite athlete, for a couple of not so talented but hardworking, high character athletes. Because with that elite athlete, you're one injury away from not having that athlete anyway, but you still got the parent problems.
Mhm.
And then they're going to tear up your program. And so you become a sports psychologist, sports psychiatrist, rather than a coach, which I think that's part of coaching, but that shouldn't be the main part for the whole season. You're having to find a way to give this player special treatment while at the same time making everybody feel that you're not. I don't like playing that game. I'm not that good at it anymore. So for me, I think who you decide to pull into your program and how you represent, the promises you make beforehand. One thing we promise is an opportunity to compete for varsity. I don't promise you a starting spot. I don't promise you a spot on varsity. You got an opportunity to compete. We're not going to discriminate based upon you being a freshman. We're not going to guarantee you based upon you being a senior. You have an opportunity to participate, come to tryouts, to show your wear, to show your work ethic. So that's what we promise. So when your kid doesn't make it, we didn't lie to you. When your kid doesn't make it, we didn't promise you starting or playing time. So there's we're up front. I think some programs you promise 6 people they're gonna start. You know, and I understand it's a game of fishing, right? I throw out 10 lines, and that kid is also gonna have 10 schools on the line. I'm trying to get kids, and they're trying to find the best school. But I don't believe in attracting players and students that way. For me, that's just I can't do it. One, I don't have the budget to compete with other schools who will remain nameless. But I went to one school one day, and this was about 6 years ago, and I asked a lady, and I said, "How much does it cost to go here?" Her response to me was, "How good is your kid at whatever sport they play?" I said, "My kid is into coding and engineering." She said, "Oh, that's going to be somewhere in the 30s."
Mhm.
My school, when you ask me, I tell you the tuition is we have financial that's universally available to all students based upon financial need. And, we start the conversation there. So, yeah, I just think it starts off with honesty. Honesty. I'm not going to promise you something that I can't do, and I'm not going to promise you something I didn't promise the other kid. That way, all communication, no parent's going to sit up in the stands and tell me or yell out, my kid is on scholarship, my kid got free.
Think I might have lost you like I lost me. It's still going. Don't worry, I'll have to do some editing for this episode. But at what point can we allow, let's say, the work ethic seems to have changed in all levels of this, not just from the parents, not just from the players, but like to me, I played against Paul Pierce and I was like seventh, eighth grade. He was an elite athlete. He was big, he was large, he ran, he was athletic, he jumped, he did everything the team needed to do. He wasn't the type of player who didn't go on the floor for the ball. I saw this being outclassed the whole time. That made me want to play harder. It made me yell at my teammates that, so what? We got a foot deep in our ass. Quit giving up the ball. Stop. There's nothing to be scared of. We're already getting our ass whooped. Like the fear should be gone. Get better. Pay attention to what we're doing. Run the plays. Let's do what we need to do. But at that same time, I don't ever remember Paul Pierce being given. I wasn't there. I didn't go to Inglewood. I went to Westchester where I watched him come in and dominate in too many games. When did he get treated as that elite athlete, or was he treated as you are better, so I expect more from you? You have to put out more because if you don't, the rest of these guys that you're dragging along are just going to make it even harder for you to pull them along. I'm not asking you to motivate them. I'm asking you to lead. How is that conversation different now when, again, money is involved, but at the same time, this isn't the end. You're just now getting started. You have a minimum of 8 years to go if you want to make this profession, if you want to make this a career. But understand, I don't care if you play hockey, maybe tennis, unless you're in baseball or a few other sports, your career is not going to last you more than 8 years after you graduate. That's if you don't get injuries.
Yeah. Well, I think art imitates life. You ever watch these movies and you got the king and he talks about his heirs and he tells the oldest that one day you're going to be king, you're going to be pharaoh, you're going to be the da 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 da. And then the younger son gets to be the wayward son who's out frolicking with the, you know, with the chambermaids and all of that. And he knows he's never going to be the king, right? And so you got the same parents, but it goes to me into the development. So you get some kids with elite talent, and their parents are telling them talent without uh, work and work ethic and effort is a waste. You get some people who say, "You the best. We're gonna ride this out. We're gonna get all we can get off of it, and you just being the best and most talented is good enough. We never have to work." And so what you see is the kids who were raised in the first way become the extraordinary LeBron Jameses and the Paul Pierce and the people like that. And the people who are raised in the other way become so many people that we were enamored with in high school who were these phenomenal talents, but didn't have the grades to make it work, weren't college eligible, couldn't go to class when they got to college. The tutors couldn't do enough homework for them. Then they got injured, and then they end up being disgruntled with the coaches. They got in a fight with teammates, and they become the whatever happened to stories. And so I think all of that comes down into, once again, originally, initially, are you being raised? Are you being trained? I just listened to LeBron. He was doing a podcast with Steve Nash. And one thing he gave credit for was both of his coaches in high school. He said they mandated that we play the game the right way. It wasn't pick and roll for LeBron. It was motion offense. The ball moved. It was about creating advantage, kicking to open people, people making a play. And if the ball ended up in my hand at the end of the play, it's because I was the right choice. It wasn't because the play was drawn up for me to take the ball every time. And I think there's something special when we teach kids early that it's about everybody, that a true victory is one where everybody's able to contribute to it, where everybody matters and everybody.
Definitely. The teamwork let's say teamwork makes the dream work, but a lot of people don't even understand how to motivate themselves enough to push towards teamwork. Outside coaching, parents complaining about how much time they have, but they can, like I say, you can get training videos on your phone. You can find ways and places to go run and play basketball everywhere. But are you getting the actual education when it comes to what you're trying to be, what the next sport is, what's determining how good you're going to be in the next sport?
Say that again.
I was saying, definitely the amount of, let's say, training, coaching, parenting, when it comes to doing things the right way, has to matter. You can't keep giving kids leeway to say, look, you can quit this sport as soon as you feel that the pressure is on you. You can quit as soon as you go against a better player. You can quit as soon as you get somebody that's completely outclassed. I don't want to go too sideways, but I was having a discussion with a guy over at restaurant a couple days ago, and he was bringing up, oh man, like how transgender is ruining sports. And I'm saying, you can't name 5 people. You can name 1 or 2 that's been in the news, but you can't name 5 people. It's not a story. It's not something to worry about. But at the same time, that's like me saying it's unfair to play against Paul Pierce. It was unfair for me to play against people like Magic Johnson. Why? They're 6'9". I'm barely cracking 6 foot if I can. How is it fair that this person wants to back me down every time they get the dang ball? And the rest of my team seems to agree with them. No one comes to double team, say, stop doing this. They just leave me out on the boat to go, all right, well, if he rebounds, then, we'll be able to get you there. But at what point are we not going, look, you have to go against better competition. You need to play against better players. I don't care if he's a boy, girl, dad, granddad, whoever. If you're going to go against somebody who's better than you, try your hardest to beat them. Learn from what you're doing. Don't sit there and go step up and go, well, my parents said I can have the out, so I'm going to take the out. My aunties and cousins told me I never had to work this hard, so I'm not going to work that hard. Hell, even in the military sometimes now. I was offered a position to go to the military when I was in high school, in which I would have bypassed everybody that was in war for like 5, 6 years. I would have came out as an officer above them just for going to school and having the college certificates and grades. And that was backwards to me. How am I going to be in charge of the people who already done the work because of my books? No, actual, working in the field matters. Actually having the actual real life education matters. So why would I now go to college and be in charge of people who've been doing that work for 6 years versus every other position? I go to college, I still got to come out and get training because why? I have no background in doing this. I have no history in doing this. So that's why I have to take a lower job, a lower pay. But if we're going to do it like that, basketball, football, I don't care if it's tennis, we should be developing divisions and levels to get through because once you've reached a certain point, that ain't it. Now what's next? I'm not asking everybody to have a drop step fadeaway, but I want to be able to take the smallest kids and have them play against some of the biggest kids. I need you to understand when you're not bigger, you need to be faster. When you're not faster, you need to be smarter. But understand, nobody wins the game without doing at least 2 of the 3. If you're not going to be faster than them, you need to be smarter and bigger. If you're not going to be smarter and bigger, you need to figure out which ways you can take advantage because turn around and for me, looking at the refs at where's my call at, you're never going to get that call. What'd you say? He did what? Oh, okay. Well, you should stop that. He's grabbing your jersey. Maybe you should grab his jersey. I don't know what to tell you, son, but at some point you need to outcompete against the other person.
Well, I think that level of competition is exactly where we're lacking in athletics, but in the classroom and also as people. And it's going to not be long before it infects our country. The country's made up of the people.
Clearly has.
Yeah.
It clearly has.
So just being soft and just asking for fairness and for an equal playing field and asking that to be legislated is difficult when at the bare level of humanity, which is survival. You know, when somebody comes up to your car to take what you have, first of all, they've picked what they thought was the weakest. They've already picked the advantage. And if you're saying, well, you got to have the same weapon as me and be the same size and have equal numbers, it's not going to happen. So we have to teach kids to compete against the odds. Now, going back really quick to the transgender thing, I think that if we have co-ed leagues, who cares? But then if I think
Exactly.
if we're having gender specific leagues, and I think gender specifically that's how that should go. And I don't know if you regulate that by hormonal levels, if you go with status of birth. I don't know how that quite works, but I do think, to me, there's a problem with defining something as a women's sport and then having genetically men in it because it's no longer a woman's sport.
No.
Now, if it's a man's sport, I think it's something wrong with having genetic women in that sport. Um, because if you just go by simply, I feel like I am today, right? That's the thing, right? I feel like I can go into the women's bathroom because I'm feeling that way today. Then everything should just be co-ed league. NBA should just be co-ed. If you're good enough, you can play in the league. If you're not good enough, you can't. Uh, you can try out for the WNBA. And if you're feeling like you're a woman, then LeBron James can go ahead and extend his career another 15, 20 years by going over there and just saying, I'm feeling feminine right now, right?
Mhm.
So he can literally be the greatest player to play in two leagues. You know, he can do that. He can play until he's 60. So I think
Easy.
there has to be some rules and some definitions with this, or you just make everything co-ed. And
Definitely. I think that most of our sports, especially basketball, until I say about 12, because you've seen those 8-year, 9-year-old girls destroy these little boys. As
yes,
soon as they get to 12 and 13, they act like they can't play with the girls anymore. Or even some of the girls' parents don't want them playing with the boys anymore because he's so big, he's so fast. And I'm sitting there going, man, when I was growing up, tell that to Lisa Leslie. She's going to get on the court and play. She might not dominate no guys, but she's going to score. She's going to rebound. She's going to play basketball. Like, I really wish these people, because things are different now, but I really wish people could see Cheryl Miller play against other people. Like, the attitude she speaks with is still that same player she always was. And it was like, I wanted to, I, Reggie is happy there's no video of her playing against him at this point in his life. Like, at what point was he going to go, Dad, it's unfair. She's too big. I can't. I'm the second child. I'm supposed to be bigger than her. Why is it she dominating? But on the place where I was talking to the gentleman, in most sports, basketball, baseball, you're going to have a different form of athletics. You're going to have a different level of intensity or just playing above the rim. Now, if we're talking about Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, I can take a 130-pound girl against a 130-pound guy, and she will choke him out or break his arm, no problem. Because the level is even. But we go to boxing, that's not the same. I can't put a 130-pound man in a rim with 100. Why? Because he just lost 15 pounds last night just to make this up. She cannot do that. She will deteriorate her body. Things will shut down if she tries to lose weight anywhere near some of the way these men do. So the competition will never be equal in that form. But if we're going to say, hey, you want to compete against the best, I don't care how you feel. Step up, get on the court, go compete against the best. Because I had a problem with Kevin Garnett growing up, watching him play defense. Kevin Garnett used to like to touch the inside of people's thigh when he was playing defense against them. And it was just to throw them off. I knew it was what he was doing. Other players knew what he was doing. But it didn't matter. Once he got in your head and you was off a little bit, oh, I'm touching you everywhere. I'm grabbing you on the back. I'm rubbing your head. I'm doing all kind of stuff to make you uncomfortable. Why? Because I'm taking advantage anywhere I can. If I can make you feel like, hey, this player is doing something wrong and he shouldn't be, I'm gonna keep doing it until the ref stop me.
Right,
But that's competition.
right. And you find that, and I'm so glad you referenced that because you take players who are typically of lesser skill at some point, and those are the tricks that you have to learn. And it's like guerrilla warfare. You find ways to compete when you're smaller or when you're slower. You find ways to affect the game in a positive way, which for me, I think is the nature of coaching, right? It's thinking about ways that you can get an advantage when you don't, the other person doesn't perceive an advantage, which coaching to me is indicative of war, which is moving around pieces to accomplish a goal and hopefully defeating an opponent. And so when you look at Sun Tzu, who is, considered one of the greatest strategists uh, in history of war, he says something like, the greatest victory is the one you win without fighting. And
Mhm.
so if you can psychologically beat an opponent, you look at the haka that they did in rugby with that Australian
Yeah.
group. They come out that hakada, hakada, hakada. And, by the time they finish spitting and sticking that tongue out and threatening to, beat you up, they're already 3 goals up on you, right? So I think going back to where we were before, we are so mentally weak and emotionally weak, and we're continuing to perpetuate it that it's going to spill over into our society. It's going to spill over into our soldiers. It's going to spill over into every aspect of life, just simply because we're not asking our kids to stay at one school and to compete through the tough times, to find ways to get on the court, find ways to deal with the coach, find ways to beat that kid that's in front of you, find ways to earn your spot. And it's just going to continue to grow. NBA, I don't like it. I asked to be traded. I asked to be traded. I asked to be traded. Like at some point in time, we got to teach rigor. We got to teach grit. We got to teach stick to itness. And we're just not doing it. And so I have no problems with the girls playing against the boys. Um, my best teams coming up through my coaching experience was when I had an all girls team and we were playing all boys league and we were playing at 15 and under. And, you know, the thrill of winning one of those games was just, you know, was so good for us. And, you know, the boys went from, I don't want to touch the girl and I don't want to play to, if we're going to win, we got to step up. And our girls realized you got to meet the physicality. And it ended up being good socially for both groups. Now, when we beat the boys, I can't say it was good for their emotionality, but, for us, it was great. And the boys had to learn that, girls are people too.
Hmm.
So
They said I wanted to play against Dawn. I wanted to play against the top female athletes growing up because it was like, why? They got a college scholarship. Damn it. Let me see how. Let me understand what I need to do to get better or to be there. But to just sidetrack on that one, how easy some of them seem to act like they have it versus no. Like, I mean, Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Miller, they scored 100 points in high school. I don't know what team you played on. I don't care if it was Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, or whatever else. The coach is like, unless we're winning by 20, stop letting them score. That person isn't going to keep scoring all game unless we're just destroying them. And that's the only person they have. Hey, let them score all they want. The rest of the team can't do nothing. I get both points, but I am not going to let you have a career night against me. Like Jalen, you're getting off of Kobe. Like we're understanding he's not going to be more of these, but you are no longer sticking him. Uh, Look, I know where we at. Triple team. I don't care. He is not getting another point this quarter. He can score again next quarter. But this quarter, make him a passer, make him do something else. We're not, I am not here to watch us get our ass kicked by this one person.
I think Sam Mitchell spoke to that, I think, because I think he might have been the coach at that time. And I don't remember what he said, if he was going to double or not double, or why he wasn't doubling or anything like that. Um, But yeah, I agree with you. It comes with a sense of pride. Um, Sometimes you're just outmatched. I think in the Lisa Leslie game, if I'm correct, did she have that in a half?
I think it was, yeah, because they were playing halves things, something like that then.
But I
They
mean,
only had the two halves.
she had that in the first half.
I think so.
Yeah, I think she had that by like halftime, if I'm correct. I might be misreading it. But yeah, I mean, they must have been playing somebody who was not capable of defending themselves in any intelligible way. And at that point in time, I think the coach would have been better off just throwing a chair on the floor. Like, you got 70 points, you're on your way to 100, we still in the first quarter. You know what? Bobby Knight, we out of here.
Right. Oh man.
Yeah, I'm not giving up
Um,
100. I'm not giving up 100. I'm not giving up 100. Yeah. What about when Raymond Lewis supposedly had like 60 on Coop in like a summer league game
oh,
with no 3-point
I don't
line,
think I've
right?
heard. Right, right. That's what I'm saying. And it was something extra with that, but it was still the same thing. Nobody else gonna ever do it to me. Ask Coop about it now. And you ever heard of anybody else doing something like that
Oh
too?
no.
No.
Oh no.
That's what we're gonna talk about then. We're gonna talk about everybody else. Y'all can. There's always gonna be one player. One day, my back was hurting, my knee was bad. Have you ever seen Magic run at UCLA? There's some weird. There's some wild stuff that goes on in some of those games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Foul? What you mean foul? Ain't nobody fouled you. I call foul. Give me the ball back. I'm not gonna argue with you. Give me the ball back. But
Right.
at these points, it was always competition leads us to the next step. I didn't come here to get beat. I played on a 3-on-3 league at the Forum. I was probably the oldest player at 12. I don't think I was 13. We had 30-year-old adults kick our ass 2 games straight. No mercy, no no loser take the ball out, no nothing. No, it was they're trying to end this as soon as possible because they know they got another game. And I'm looking at the ref and the schedule like, what are y'all doing to us? At least give us a chance to want to keep playing. I got a 9-year-old or 10-year-old over here that's on our team. He's quitting tonight. He's not playing anymore. We do it, and it's only 3 of us. We didn't have a backup player. There was nobody to sub in. It was 3 of us
Oh.
there trying to
How did
play
that
and
happen?
getting. It was at the Forum. I don't know what they did. I don't know who, but I'm sitting there on the second game, like at the rep, like, did you even try to give us a chance to compete? Because there are kids here. There have to be other kids here. Why am I? Why are we here? Just 21-0, 19-2, over, done. Like there was no chance for us to compete. But even still, me and the older kid that was there, we played basketball later that day. Why? Because it hurt too bad to get our butt kicked that badly and not try to go beat somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the thing that you are consistently talking about, which I agree with, is stepping up to the level of competition and being able to meet the competition, even if you're not going to win, but having a sense of we're still going to fight. And see, I think even that comes from like home, right? We were in our day, right? It was like, yeah, you can't just keep running in the house, running from butt kickings. At some point in time, you got to face the bully. And what happens is what happens, but at least they know that they too have been in a fight. You're not going to be the easy victim. You're not going to be the one that gets chosen to get picked on because you're going to defend yourself. And it's just unfortunate that mindset is no longer prevalent. Your kid is having a tough time, we want all the kids kicked out, or we're just going to move schools. And I'm not saying at some points that's not the answer, but that can't be the first. That can't be the first suggestion. You know, learning how to verbally speak up for yourself, learning how to tell people no, learning how to take a stance and how to be firm, and having to fight if you have to fight. Those things have value because those become your life choice traits. That becomes your character traits. Um, And so now we're to the point where we've identified the problem, but how do we fix it? Right. And so I think coaches have a lot to do with that. I think coaches are one of the few institutions or sports where the coach still has a carrot that the kid wants. Right. And if all of the coaches make a decision to, hey, we're going to hold our kids accountable to a high standard, we're not going to let the talent supersede the character, then we got a chance to save our generation. But if not, every coach wants to win. So if you're bringing in elite players who know that you're not going to hold them accountable, you're just going to roll the balls out, don't have to practice, and they're going to win on talent. Everybody's fluctuating there or flowing over there. It's going to be tough for you to have standards and lose players. So we just got to be consistent, and we got to be the adults. We got to be the adults in the room. We got to stop letting the kids and the invested parents run the programs. We got to just stop doing that.
And it's kind of hard to talk to some of these parents because clearly they've never done this before. They've never had an elite athlete as a child. They didn't have an elite brother, sister, whoever else who had to deal with players and people like this. But yet they're now an expert on everything that their child needs. They're an expert on what the next level is. They're an expert on contacting coaches and travel experiences and everything else. And it's like, look, I want to help you. I want to help your kid. But for me to sit here and take 3 hours just to get a point across about showing up for the games versus they just going to be there for practice. They're just going to show up for games and not practice hard, or they play on 3 different AAU teams, so they can only make your Tuesday practice. And well, we're getting looked at by scouts. What is the goal? How about we step back and say, what is the goal? Because playing on 4 or 5 AAU teams, cool, you're getting out there. You're going to get some exposure. But when he get hurt, who's going to be there for that kid? Who's going to be there to help that kid rehabilitate and get anything else? Let alone help them get into college, not just get them in front of a people, not just get them like you can put in job applications everywhere. When that interview comes, how are you going to act when that person is really asking you a question about the fryer? You just looked at a 10-second YouTube video, saw it might be a cool place to work, and you put in an application. But you didn't take the time to find out that, yeah, if you work, like saying if you was going to go to UNLV like I wanted to, you was going to have to know how to run 3-4 miles. It
Yep.
wasn't just show up and you're just a good athlete. No, you got to run in the sun. You're going to have to go run around the track. You're going to have to be an athlete that I can count on in the end of the fourth quarter. I don't care if you ain't played one game. You need to be able to run when you're told to run.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. When we wonder why the international players are uh, the MVP favorites, and we wonder why, you know, they're growing at a disproportionate rate to our players in terms of talent. Well, one, they just put a lot more resources into it. They run academies and they identify talent early, and that becomes their school, right? That becomes the time that they spend. Where our kids still go through a traditional system, which I think our system makes for much more well-rounded um, athletes. There's fewer of our kids who get left behind because those kids who are not good enough in other countries to play at professional levels, now what do? You haven't really learned how to read, write. But, on the other side of that, we're not really teaching our kids what they need to know in terms of the character that goes into being elite as well. And that's where I think it is. Working hard, running the miles, lifting the weights, listening to the different conversations, the difficult conversations, not being abused verbally, I would never say that, but being criticized constructively. Those are all parts of being a successful person. I just had an argument with one of my business partners, and it was very, very heated. But because we were both athletes who had gone through rigorous coaching when we were young, we were able to hug at the end of it and say, hey, it's all about the product. You're trying to make me better. I'm trying to make you better. We on the same page, same goal. But these parents nowadays, man, they've worked so hard to make sure their kids don't have to work at all. That's the problem to me. I went through so much, so I'm going to make sure that you don't have to go through anything. So
And that's the wrong mindset.
wrong mindset. We're going to lose a whole generation where the mindset should be, if it was good enough for me, it's good enough for you. There's not a problem with you washing dishes. There's not a problem with you having a bedtime. It's not a problem with you cutting off the TV. It's not a problem with you doing 50 push-ups before you go to sleep. Not a problem with you earning, certain privileges. It's not a problem with that. We had to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We all joke about the street lights coming on and we got to be home and be within shouting distance and all of that. Now you're getting kids younger and younger with no curfews. The phone is the electronic leash. The kids are putting the parents on do not disturb, taking off the location, and the kid get home when they want to get home. And the punishment is going to the room, which is where they walk in the house
Anyway,
because we're not eating, because we got 10 TVs in the house, not the one TV. We got everybody with a cell phone instead of the one phone. And so now when I get banished to my room, it's where I want to be, away from the teaching and the learning. And I get to go be more of what I was doing. Versus before, you get banished to the room. There was no TV. There was no socialization. There was no telephone. There was read a book.
mm-hmm. And clean this thing up.
And clean this thing up. And you're going to eat them peas for breakfast, lunch, and or dinner, but you're going to eat them eventually at some point in time. Now it's, I ain't eating that. I want to go to Chick-fil-A. If I ain't going to Chick-fil-A, I ain't eating. Kids are holding the parents hostage.
And that power struggle, I see it being given up younger and younger. Like, I'm not sure if you ever noticed it. I've noticed it myself. When I first heard of TikTok and a bunch of other stuff, I'm not dumb enough to be caught up on my phone looking at 30-second videos for the next 2.5 hours. YouTube Shorts kicked me right in the mouth talking about watch me do it to you, watch me do it to you. Not realizing I'm just getting a quick second of information. I'm watching the news, I'm watching them educate, and I'm like, I'm doing this. I didn't even realize it. And then I go back and look at, I ain't been through 120 videos that I can't even tell you which one was the best one, which one mattered. And now they all look the same because I hit like on one of them and it won't stop sending me every single person's video. And I'm going, I got addicted to this. Why would I give this to a child? Why would I put this in the hand of a child to go, hey, I have a problem not looking at this thing. Let me give a 2-year-old this thing. I saw a 3-year-old hit his mama in the face and take her phone from her at the dinner table. Phone upside down on the thing. No, you gonna give me that phone. And I'm sitting there going, man, everybody in this restaurant would applaud if you knocked that child out. Not one person here would think you was wrong if you knocked that child out. But the fact that that child still end up with that phone showing me who's gonna be in charge in 2 years. Because you're not willing to deal with the short-term pain of this child crying or whatever. I remember my daughter throwing a tantrum in the middle of JCPenney, somewhere we was at, laid out on the floor, crying, just going. And I'm one of those people like, whose child is this? Like, where did this come from? But I looked her dead in the eye and was like, let me know when you're done. I'll be sitting right here. Yeah, keep going. Bark like a dog, do. It's not going to change because we're leaving here. I'm not buying whatever it is you want. And you know, when I get home, I might beat your behind.
Right. Right.
You done? Yeah. It happened one time. Never, ever again did I have that child throw a tantrum on the floor or do whatever else, let alone have other parents ask me to discipline their child. And I'm going, it don't do me no good if you're just going to give in tomorrow. It's like the dad and the mom. If I can get the mom to tell me whatever your dad says is cool, I'm going to go butter up dad, tell dad, mom said I can do anything I need to do. As long as you give me the okay, it's all I need. And again, split homes, allow parents to be run against each other because we're not going to talk about, well, did she tell you that this? Did she tell you this? No, she didn't tell us that. She told you just enough to get you upset with the other parent. So now, as long as you're not agreeing with the other parent, that's where we're going to go. And I tell my daughter, have you not noticed how much power you can wield when you do certain stuff like this? Do that with your education. Do that what you want to do with your future. Stop giving up so easily on these other things, but the stuff that we tell you not to do, oh, you got you got 2 weeks of energy to put in towards that. You was told no. Oh, let's see what I can come up with. Let's see all the different ways I can go around. But if you had just done what you was asked in the first place, this would have been much easier. We wouldn't even be spending 10 minutes talking about this. There is no
Right.
argument. Go do whatever you need to do because you did what you were asked to do first. I can trust you. But now, kids, like I say, they didn't show up to practice, they didn't go to school, they got bad grades, and now you're not going to play them. How dare you? How dare you tell my son that he can't play because he was out hanging out this summer? Oh, because he didn't show up to summer workouts, he can't be. He's still the best player. So now we're going to go. Look, if that's what you want to train your child to be, I'm happy to see them go. I want the best for your child no matter where they are. But if you want me to discipline them, I can't be going against you. We have to be together on the same page at some point.
Right. Absolutely. And that's why it's called a partnership. But when you have people who are not um, in agreement on how to get the job done, Bible tells us a house divided cannot stand. And so the kid is going to be the one who suffers because we're arguing about whatever. I think there's some things that we can hold as truths. Discipline is love, not abuse, but discipline is love. So if you're running away from discipline, if you're running away from consequences, if that's what you find you're doing as a parent, then you're holding your kid in a position to be victimized as an adult, to have a very tough existence, to not learn the lessons. So I tell people all the time, measure twice, cut once. Figure out what program you want to be in. Vet the coach. Do your research. Talk to the people. Do all of the things you need to do. And once you put your kid in that coach's hand, trust that the person that you spent hours and days and gotten multiple opinions on is the right person, and let them perform the magic that you've seen happen in other regards. And partner with that person. We're all learning. And so parents, and I've seen this too, the psychosis of a parent. You're all in support of the discipline until it comes to your kid. And then when it comes to your kid, you want all of the privilege. You want all of the excuses. So I think, we just got to learn how to remove ourselves from the situation sometime and to say, what is objectively good? What's objectively right? And once we do that, we find people who are in line with us and we let them do what they got to do. And to me, that's one of the secrets to why our program has had success in the past and why I think we'll be good again. We have a great staff, and then we got parents who are willing to let us get the ingredients and do some cooking in the kitchen. And hopefully we can produce a pretty good meal. So
Wanted to ask you, the WNBA is finishing up their collective bargaining agreement. And I was listening to Gil's Arena, and it was hilarious because, again, they're honest. That's why I love listening to people, because you might not like what they have to say, but if you listen to them, they're being completely honest with you. Like, we have that in our field when you talk to somebody, like, you might not like what I'm saying, but I'm not saying it to hurt you. I'm saying it so you have all the information you're requesting.
right,
So he stated that they got an extra day off for All-Star break by giving up high school players coming directly to the NBA. He said Kevin Durant was the first person screwed over on that deal because they offered them an extra day of All-Star break to make sure high school kids didn't come in. And then Gilbert was like, it might not even have been that. We might have thrown that in just to get the extra day. It might not even been a discussion that they didn't want to have. We were just like, hey, well, if we get an extra day, y'all know y'all can keep that 18-year-old in college for a year. Y'all can keep doing it. But Lexi Brown, D. Brown's daughter, was like, yeah, that's not even in the negotiating this year. The girls are going to keep having to go to school for 4 years before they can come to the WNBA. My question is, we can go about fair. My question is that right to hold back players from moving up a level, or is that actually the skill development that they need? 4 years in college before you can even think you can go to the WNBA because there's only 18 teams here. There's not room for all of you. You need to stay where you can play, get better, develop, maybe even get paid before you think about coming out to a place in which the second round picks don't even play. Second round picks ain't even in the league anymore.
Right. So I think there's a multitude of different layers to that, and there's different rationales. So I think when you look at the compensation that the ladies are making, that money is not, in most cases, life transformative. So giving them an opportunity to get an education has value. You look at the economics, um, college, college athletics for on the women's side are probably packing as many players or fans in the arena as WNBA games. So economically, there's no rationale to rush these players into the WNBA. But I think it's a protective agent because I want to encourage all of our college athletes to get a 4-year degree. But the truth of the matter is why would I stay in for 4 years if I can make $1 million next year? The women's game is not set up that way. So therefore, if the career expectancy is even less than on the men's side, the options for playing in multiple leagues or other leagues is fewer, then I think it's a good thing to ask young ladies for their lives to get their education so that if the W doesn't pan out, they do have something to fall back on. But then going back to those other issues, I think that those are true too, right? There's fewer teams, fewer spots available, the likelihood of making it. And then if you don't make it, then you get to go back to college or, whatever. I think that opens up a whole new can of worms. Because if you're not allowed to go back, then you've pretty much been given the impression that as a freshman, you can have this great career in the pros because you had a good year. You don't get drafted, and now your career is done. You're left to try to go to Israel or whatever that might be. Where on the men's side, you don't get drafted. You got the the G League. You got other organizations that you can go to and play in. There's many more worldwide organizations that you can go be a part of. So I think, it causes to have to revamp the whole system if you let the women come out early, because then you got to have this system where they can come back. And it's kind of like in tennis or gymnastics, how you can become a professional and still go to college and that type of thing. I think it's tricky. So I think the simple answer is to keep it off the table, to ask young ladies to do what is best overall for their life, which is to get their education, because the opportunity to make the money, which will support their lives, is not there as readily than in the NBA. That's my take on it. I wish, I wish that we could ask all kids to get a degree. And I'm not saying that that's fair, because you have some kids who are ready to go make that money immediately. LeBron James clearly was ready. Clearly. You heard about Moses, was ready. Daryl Dawkins was ready. Kevin Garnett was, 1 year from being ready. Kobe was a season plus a broken hand away from being ready. Amari Stoudemire, these guys were ready. But that is 15 guys out of, because I remember Evan Burns, when he was at Fairfax, was talking about going straight to the league. 6'7", could jump from the free throw line and dunk a basketball. And then he ended up going to college for a year, one place, and then ended up transferring someplace else. And, I would love for a young man like that to have finished up a 4-year college career and got a degree. I think his life would have been much better than being able to not have to focus on the academics, focus on the league, come out, maybe not get drafted or whatever happened or didn't happen. So that's my take on it. I promote and encourage the degree route.
With that one, would it not be, let's say, even as a coach, team leader, when you're going to draft a player, you go, all right, this person's already stuck with a team for 4 years versus, am I going to draft a player who has barely been at this college for 3 months, 6 months, but they're the number one athlete in their division. They're one of the top athletes. Am I actually looking, as you say, what am I trying to build? What is this program going to be in which it doesn't matter if it's UConn, it doesn't matter if it's Santa Monica, community college. If you were able to stick through a program and consistently get better year after year, develop yourself, increase your education, show that you're actually trying to do more. That's the person I want to draft. And again, the W should be talking about a lower level league that they have, but the also to me should be arguing every NBA team should have a WNBA team now. Even if they're all not going to be in the same division, we should have it where, if not 100%, 90% of the NBA teams have a WNBA team. Why? Because now you have growth. Now you're showing how much you can train people and what you can get versus trying to go out and get ready-made players everywhere you go. Because the NBA is doing just like the college did. If I got 3 draft picks, let's just say, I will give that up for James Harden versus getting a James Harden and waiting for him for 3 to 4 years to turn into the type of player he can be. We don't have that time as a team, but I'm also not about to give you the Bradley Beal carte blanche contract in which everything you want, everything you say you can get, or you can literally tell the team, I don't want to play, I don't want to do this, my contract's guaranteed. I'm going to sit home until you come up with a better negotiation. I think there's a room somewhere in the middle, but I do believe that they should be arguing and negotiating for the future of the league, not just we need more money, because I've gotten flack for this. In my opinion, the WNBA, not everybody, this is nowhere near, but technically over the last 5 years, they're a well-paid organization. I say that because their league lasts 3 months. They don't have to, again, I'm not saying you have to live in South Dakota to be able to afford to have a life, but if you're making $130,000 for 3 to 4 months, you should be able to now stretch that out. Go, I'm not saying everybody's a model, but go do some things on the side that increase your brand, but also allow you to make money and don't take away from your profession.
Yeah, because you could go do training, you could do public speaking, you could go teach at a high school, middle school. You can get a entry level at a McDonald's. You could do anything to help increase and supplement that income. Still gives you enough time to train and be a professional. And you look at the genesis of of the NBA. What is the thing that the modern players say? You were playing against a bunch of plumbers and electricians because they truly were selling insurance when they weren't playing in the games. So yeah, it's what everybody does. Most people in America today have a second job. They have a second income stream. So, if they're not willing to do that, then, and I'm not saying that anybody should have to do anything that they don't want to do, but if you're not making the money you want to make at one job, the real world says you got to get a second job or you got to get a new job. That's what the real world says. And so as we talk about equality, then WNBA players shouldn't be any different. Everybody wants to make the same money, but unfortunately, in the NBA, players don't make the same money. So how do you expect to make the same money as an NBA player? You're not even in the same league. When players in the same league don't make the same amount of money. There's a bigger gap between what the top player and the bottom players on an NBA team than what the the league average is and what the WNBA players make. There's a bigger gap between what Luka was gonna make and some dude on the team we don't even know his name was gonna make.
Has Luka ever come close to winning an MVP?
I think Luka's been like third a couple times, but he was the leading scorer in the league last year. You know, he's arguably one of the best offensive players in the league right now. He can shoot the three. He can score at all levels. He makes free throws. He can pass the ball. He can score at the rim, not with dunks, but you know he can get there. He can shoot free throws. He can make the mid-range floater game. He can shoot the three, not at high levels, but you know he's super efficient in his ability to distribute the ball and also get his.
If this Laker team doesn't get to the finals, let alone the Western Conference Finals,
Okay.
is this season a disappointment? Is it we achieved well greater than we thought? How do you look at the end of this season when you've gotten two of the best players in the league now? Again, both of them have been hurt too this year. How do you actually look at the end of the season where I have a problem with the Lakers because they disbanded that Western Conference Finals team? Like they just literally kicked everybody off the team. That was where I first had my problem with not Pelinka, but the guy that went to Charlotte. But either way, how do you actually like for me as the Clippers, they can't complain about how the season ends. You win 30 games without Kawhi again. The guy who you did have last year, Paul George, didn't play nowhere near that amount. Norman Powell, who should have been a all-star, has come out and is now going to demand more money in a year or two. You can't look at this year as a disappointment. But if you do make it to at least the second or third round, you can't be satisfied. You can't be happy. So out of this year, can there be teams that are satisfied with what they did this season, or is it going to be mostly a bunch of, and this is a separate subject, I'm gonna fire my coach before my team is out of the playoffs. I'm gonna make a big showing to make it seem like we really care about this. I'm gonna do press conferences or whatever else to make it seem like we really are involved into this versus, man, we barely hanging on by a thread. The fact that we got through this season should be well enough to be congratulations, but that's not the type of league we play in. That's what our sports are. So at what point do I look at my stars and go, y'all got to put more work in versus we achieved well more than we expected?
So I'm a Christian dude. I'm a Bible guy. And one of the main three themes of the Bible is faith. And so when you look at what's the difference between selling out arenas and not, one of the biggest differences is the hope that your team can be good. And whenever you hire a new coach, you almost hit the reset button on the potentiality or on the intentionality of your team. You say, we've evaluated ourselves and we found that at the leadership level, we didn't have the right guy. We got it now. We're going to go hire whoever, and this person is going to. And so now season ticket holders enter the new era of. And so what they're selling is the hope and the faith, right? You can't really get rid of the players. You can make some small moves, but in terms of replacing one elite player with another, that doesn't happen very often. But the coach becomes a scapegoat. He becomes the person who has to take management's demands and somehow get the players to swallow that and then play. And when that doesn't work, we say, management, the players had a problem with this coach, and the coach had to go. We got the new coach. Now we're going to be good. So that part is that for me. And I think that's why the coaches get let go. Now, in terms of, go ahead.
But from the Lakers to Denver, you're talking about a coach who won not years ago, literally the season before last. We won the title. We still have our base structure from both of those teams. How am I just blaming the coach right now when we're still hitting 50 wins? We're still well within the playoffs. Again, the Lakers would have been in the play-in, but that's because of how close the West can get.
Well, I think in Denver's case, there's obviously something internal there that, maybe has come out, but obviously excuse me, Jokic had to sign off on that. You're not pissing off Jokic. So obviously there's something there. I loved Mike Malone in terms of the coach that he is. I didn't like him because he was kicking Laker butt and he's the ultimate, in my mind, competitor. But he was fiery, he was confident, he was all for his program, his team. But behind closed doors, there had to be something else going on, which I don't know what it is. But I also look at Jamal Murray being hurt. Jamal Murray has not been an all-star, but there's no doubt that he's one of the top 5 guards in the Western Conference when healthy, that he gives people hell when he plays, and that, he can put up 30 on darn near anybody on any given night, period. But health is something that you have to consider. So you take away De'Aaron Fox from, well, which is now San Antonio, but when he was with Sacramento, you take away anybody's elite point guard. You look at Dallas without Kyrie. What do you expect to get from that situation? So I think that plays a large part in it. But I think Mike Malone's message was running a little bit thin with the guys because he seemed like a very no nonsense. He reminds me of a high school coach. We ain't doing it right. We ain't getting it. Our defense sucks. We need everybody to be better.
Mm-hmm.
And in the NBA, when you're dealing with these watered down egos and emotions, that probably ran thin. And so when you're talking about Luka, are you going to re-sign with us or are you going to go somewhere else? Not Luka. I'm sorry, I keep saying Luka, but Jokic, are you going to re-sign with us? Coach Mike is a little hard on us. Coach Mike got to go. But I think Coach Mike is one of the best coaches in the league. Coach Mike.
Definitely. The funny thing I noticed, I was trying to make a video, and of course I didn't finish it. A video on about the NBA coaches this year. It's a complete mic drop. They dropped Mike Brown, they dropped Mike Budenholzer, and then they dropped. I'm like, hold on. At what point did y'all just decide, look, anybody named Mike is gone? We're not dealing with anybody named Mike anymore. And the worst part is all of them came to like Mike Brown's defense when he got fired. Even the Memphis coach was like, yeah, how does that make any sense? The guy is winning. You guys are still in the playoffs. Y'all just basically upped his contract a year ago. But you go to Phoenix and you go, hold on. You just made the finals a couple years ago. That coach has been gone. And then to come to find out, you promised the coach, again, we can talk about, again, you won't get any arguments from me about a coach being paid more than some players. That is not even a question to me. It should be. But when they promised Budenholzer $10 million a year, and you're gonna fire him 3 to 4 years before his contract is up, yeah, hey Phoenix, look, put me on the list. I'm
right. Fire me, hire me, fire me. Shoot, I'll take it. Shoot, promise me 1 million for the next. Promise me 1 million for the next 100 years, and then fire. I take that 10,000 extra a year. I ain't tripping.
It's like, but at what point? Like, I've been a big Philadelphia fan. I've been a fan of most teams around the league. When does Elton Brand get fired? When when does Vlade not have a job to come back to? Like, when do these GMs actually take any look? You did since Phil Jackson. I don't remember a single coach that actually drafted a player. It's all GMs, it's all ownership. And when it comes down to that player not working out, yes, the coach may take some run. Mike Malone fired because he wouldn't play young players over Russell Westbrook and older players. And I'm sitting there going, you the GM, trade him. If you don't want me playing him, why is he on the damn team? Like, don't tell me to go play the bench players when I'm with those bench players every day in practice. If I thought they could help us, damn it, they would be in the game.
Right.
But Phoenix, they had Bol all year not playing. Then when they put him in, he's averaging down there a double-double every single time he touches the floor. They have to pull him back off the floor so he doesn't cost them that much this summer.
Right.
Either we resign you at a contract that we can afford, or we resign you at a contract that we can give to somebody else to get the stuff we want. This ain't about you as a player. This is about us as an organization and what we're going to do over the next few years. So I want loyalty, but I'm giving you cash incentives to get that from you. If these cash incentives aren't good enough for you, then hell, like to me, most GMs should be fired within 3 to 4 years. But you turn back and look and you go, well, let's just do the math. Within the next 3 years, the Lakers or the Celtics are going to win another championship. Like you can go be in Chicago all you want, unless you go draft players like Giddey, you get you an SGA, you get you let's just say even a Julius Randle, a Cat. You're going to have to get some players who are well seasoned to come over to your team, pay them exorbitant amounts, and then hope they can lead your team. Versus, I would have never gotten AD to be the leader of my team. If I have LeBron, I bring AD, no problem. I got Kyrie, I bring AD, no problem. But the same thing for Luka. If I don't have somebody who's going to push him to be the best he can be, I don't think I can have him on the team as my leader because you're going to make it about you.
Mm-hmm.
You're making the game more about you versus what this team can.
Don't the bear.
You, the bear, they're gonna poke all the time because you're gonna make it about you. You're gonna forget you're gonna throw some nice lobs, but you're gonna be so ball dominant that we don't even have to worry about 3 other players.
Well, I think that's where LeBron and Luka balance each other out. Because LeBron is going to look for Luka, which automatically means LeBron is not just only shooting turnaround jump shots and shooting bad in late in the clock shots. And Luka's going to have enough respect to look for LeBron, and then they're both trusting Austin Reeves, which is why I think you're now seeing kind of a resurgence in Laker basketball. But going back to something you said originally or earlier, I think the injuries are the reasons why GMs can keep their jobs. When you look at an Embiid, you say, why isn't Elton Brand gone? Okay, so what you're saying is we shouldn't have drafted Embiid. Okay, well, nobody's going to say that because at the time Embiid was the man to draft, but now he's hurt. So do we punish the GM for putting a great team together on paper with Paul George, Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Oubre is always a strong competitor, whoever else you got. But 2 of the 3 of those guys are always hurt. So should we not have picked up Paul George? Everybody's going to say, of course you should have picked him up. Now, you as a Clipper fan are going to say, but everybody else is saying, man, we would have loved to have Paul George, right? We would love to have him be, but the problem is they don't stay healthy. So Elton Brand can say, what do you want me to do? I gave you the team on paper who could compete for a championship. We were built to beat Boston. We got everything we need. You know, Paul George was supposed to be able to stick Tatum and go back at Tatum. They don't have an answer for Embiid. Tyrese Maxey is going to make Drew Holiday and Derek White have to play. You know, we got the team, but they're hurt. Injuries are saving jobs. Injuries are saving jobs. Now, what do you do with a situation like Phoenix, where you have 3 of the top 15 scorers in the league if they were on their own team with Booker, Beal, and of course Durant, and you can't even make the playoffs? So you blame the coach for that. Because you say, I gave you the talent. You said we were missing a point guard. You said the only thing that we didn't have was a point guard. So now we're going to give you Tyus Jones, who was leading the league for 3 years in a row in assist to turnover ratio. We give you this guy. Now you got the point guard. Now what's the excuse? They
But
blame the
you
coach.
gave me 1 year. You gave me 1 year to do this. And again, it's not like Steph was hurt all year. It's not like Ja Morant missed another season for suspension. We had a league in which, even with injury, this was a hell of a year when it comes to players actually putting up numbers and going out there and attacking. Donovan Mitchell was never considered to be an MVP. He might get like a fifth spot for voting, but to take that Cleveland team and do what he does, you still go, yeah, but he has two of the best bigs in the league right now. He's not doing it by himself. SGA, the youngest team in the league. He's doing it mostly, it seems, by himself, but he has a great supporting cast to get him to where you need. Lakers, Clippers, Memphis, everybody but Utah. You looked at and was like, I see this team competing. But even Utah, they're amassing so many assets, so many draft picks that in 4 years, they should have another Stockton Malone combination.
What you gonna do when they get Cooper Flag?
Top picks.
What you gonna do when they get Cooper Flag?
But they're gonna lose that year too. You know what I'm saying? They're not gonna become automatically a number 3, number 4 playoff team. They're gonna lose one more year to get a couple more assets or a couple more tradable pieces, and then go, now it's time to put foot to gas. Now it's time to put, everything we have on the floor, go out and sell out. But as a Clipper fan, I would have no problem right now if Steve Ballmer was like, hey, D, open. Wow, well, we don't have any assets to trade, but I do have this property in hell. I own half of Colorado. I might not be able to pay you exactly what you want, but you go ahead and like Gilbert Arenas makes a joke all the time, like, y'all rest of y'all owners are broke. You need a new stadium? Y'all need, do you want me to foot the bill for your new NBA team? What do we need to do to just get this going? Because I just want to make sure that the tampering investigation is just shut down whenever it comes through. I'm not saying there won't be an investigation. I don't say I don't deserve investigation. I just know that I'd be damned if I have this new stadium without a banner in it over the next 4 years. I don't care who's hurt.
I don't know what to tell you, man. I mean, I can appreciate what Ballmer is doing, and I love his passion. I love his love for the game. He's trying to do it absolutely 100% right. He's been out of the media. You don't even see him doing the Ballmer bombs where he's dancing and doing all the, you know. His PR people got to him. He built the arena. It's the best arena in the NBA right now. Prime location. It's a destination for people to go to. I just don't know. I don't know. The Titanic, with all of its fancy bells and whistles, didn't make it across the Atlantic, So
one time,
I'm just saying, with all the fancy bells and whistles on this Clipper team, I just don't know if it's meant to be. And truth be told, I'm a state, I got some statism in me. So I don't have any reason to dislike the Clippers. I'm a Laker fan, but if it comes down to somebody winning, and if it's not the Lakers, why not the Clippers? I would like the Lakers to win it, then Golden State. But if not, why not the Clippers? And as a state, we got 3 teams in the playoffs. Golden State made it too, right?
Yeah. Sacramento damn near made it.
So there we go. We got 4 teams in it. 3 teams in it. We got a 3 out of 16 chance just by the odds of winning this thing. So yeah, why not the Clippers? Why not? I wouldn't be mad at
that person.
Huh?
Like, so I've always been like LA first, California first. If we're gonna rally around something, rally around where you're from, or again, even if you travel to live there, I understand when it comes to just, being, this is my team, this is what we're gonna do.
Right.
I'm going to actually get a shirt or a sign if I go to a Clipper game because them numbers about to be crazy coming up for
Yeah.
those tickets. And
Yeah.
I'm not a giveaway type of person. So I want to actually have a shirt going. This is the first time the older brother is looking for the younger brother to win. Like I want the Clippers to win, but I'm an older brother. I know what it's like. No, yeah, it might be his turn, but he ain't winning this game. You might have done everything we told you to do to get there, but you still your little brother. I'm there saying, no, it's time for little brother to step up. Little brother, you gotta take this.
Uh-huh. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to it. Who do the
Like
Clippers have
out
first?
of the state, Clippers. I think they should be Denver, but I think it could be 6 or 7 games, and that's gonna take a toll.
Denver's a,
Lakers, I say probably in 5. Lakers probably 5 or 6 games, and they're done.
Denver is a tough team to play because every single night, no matter who they play, they got the best player in the game, best player on the court on their team. And he has a knack of not getting hurt. He has a knack of not getting in foul trouble. And he has a knack of being able to even not score 30 and still impact the game in a just incredible way. I never thought I would say that an overweight, seemingly out of shape, slow, non-athletic, non-American guy would be the best player in the game.
I can agree because even when we talk about Luka, I see it. I didn't used to see it in Jokic, but that brings me back to the other point we started, kind of what we started with. These are second. That was a second round draft pick. Tyrese Maxey was what number 20 something draft pick. Like we got a bunch of people who were nowhere near top 5 who are now top 5 paid players, who
Mm-hmm.
earn their reputation, who change the narrative behind what they do or who they can be. Where is that training? Where is that scouting? Austin Reeves, not even drafted.
Well, look at Draymond. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He might be the defensive player of the year. I think the things that you value differ. And I think it's just like we all observe with our eyes more importantly than we observe with our ears. And the ears are going to supersede the nose. Like you could have a woman and you'll look physically, and then you might hear what she has to say, you know. And then if everything else check out, she may not smell good, but you can tolerate that because she feel a certain way about the way she look, about the way she talk. There's a hierarchy. You would take a girl with a bad attitude if she's cute enough, you know, just just the way we value. And I think the way that scouts value is like the combine. You look at the measurables, you know, score this many points, run fast, da 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 da, played in this school, in this system. And so a lot of those diamonds get overlooked. A lot of those Dennis Rodmans, those Rick Mahorns, those Eddie Johnsons. Well, not Eddie. I think he went to Illinois. But I know Rick went to a HBCU. We know Scottie Pippen went to small school. Dennis went to a small. A lot of those kids get overlooked because you say even though they're putting up decent numbers, who they playing against? They playing against nobody. Obviously, if he didn't get recruited to Kansas or Kentucky or UCLA, obviously he's not that good of a player. So we're not gonna give him that look. And it's lazy scouting, really, right? Because I'm saying I'm gonna trust your.
That's what I feel.
Yeah, yeah. So that's my feeling on it. It's kind of like you say this that this is the best person, I'm gonna take your word for it. And then whoever didn't make your list is not gonna make my list. And we continue to filter through until we get to these people. And we've lost so many great people along the way. But I think when you look at it, character has to be, competitiveness has to be, work ethic has to be, coachability has to be. Um, those things have to be part of the equation. But how do you evaluate? Those things are so much more difficult to evaluate. I got to spend so much time, more time to evaluate your character than I do to just look at your stats or your height. So I think that's what happens.
And there's really no judge to say, all right, coming back from injury. The reason I'm Paul George fan is that broken leg. The reason I'm a Julius Randle fan is that broken leg. I was at that game. My dad came from Tennessee to take me to that first Laker game as Julius Randle when he was the #1 pick or #3 pick, whichever it was. And I remember getting there. We ended up going through a bunch of nonsense, long story to get in there. I remember sitting directly across, having a quick conversation, looking back, see him grab the rebound, come down, and just hear the whole crowd go, oh. It was just one whole, oh. Like everybody saw what happened, and he was just like, oh, that looked like it hurt. But when they played the replay, it was, he's gone. He's not, that guy is not coming back. Paul George, that's his career. Like that, like these are the type of things you don't want people to see. You don't want your own memory to see it have happened. But for those guys to come back and play as hard as they do, to achieve the things they do, that is what makes me a fan. I don't care if they were a Boston Celtic. I'm going to be a fan of a work ethic and somebody who puts in the work to get back like that. But on the same note, Ben Simmons is going to cost a bunch of people contracts because you was able to get your way into a contract. You was able to be a top pick and parlay that into more contracts because you weren't on the floor. They're not going to keep doing that. It's going to be within your first 4 years, I'll pay you on potential. After that, it's only numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go to a player like even Draymond, you have to look at more than just flat out numbers because this guy impacts the game more than just 7 rebounds a game. 8 assists a game doesn't make sense or doesn't seem like it's enough. But when you turn around and go, hey, well, if Jokic was throwing that ball to Clay, would he even be an MVP candidate?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you put different players in different positions, that's where I say I would take the MVP vote back. Can you put this player on any team and they make another team better? Yes. All right, now we give him another point for being there. But Embiid, he was the best big man on one leg a year or two ago.
Yep.
Just flat out killing as the big man. And you can see he's not 100%. But as a league organization, you don't go, well, we need to shut him down and give him another year to come back. We need to make sure that he's taken care of, massaged, and like after a certain point, even if you Bronny, I've already paid you for your nutritionist. I've already paid you for your workout specialist. I paid you for your mental health specialist. I paid you for all of these things. I need you to keep getting better or be ready for your career to come to an end. Why? Because we are investing in 5 to 6 year players. We're not investing in, we don't expect you to be your dad. We don't expect anybody to play this hard after 20 years because he's the only player to not have a season-ending injury early in the season. That's why he has so many points. That's why he has so many assists, because he plays 30 games in the playoffs every year for the last 15 years. His numbers are going to go up. They're always going to look great. But I'm not going to turn around and penalize Austin Reeves because he didn't get shots up this game. No, he played the position he was dealt. He's doing the best as he can. So yeah, 10 million a year, 12 million a year. I see that he's earned that. But if Austin comes to say he wants 27 a year, he wants 25. You're not that dude, man. I'm going back to my first round draft picks. I'm like, you can earn, you have done certain things, but your contract has to be valuable for me. Like the Clippers. You don't sign Paul George with a no trade clause. Why? Because you've done nothing to earn a no trade clause. You've been here, but you haven't played enough games to get a no trade clause. Kawhi don't have a no trade clause. Why would I give you one? Sign for 1 year, 30 million, and we'll talk about what we do in the next couple of years. Oh, that's not enough? Oh, then you're gonna have to go. Because I'm not trading luxury taxes, more draft picks, more potential movement for potential anymore. We've paid potential for far too long when you got a guy like Zubac getting what, 9 million a year?
Yeah. But see, here's the thing. You trade so many players, so many assets, so many draft picks for a player like an Embiid, or for a player like you pick, whoever you want to pick, and that player gets hurt, or that player doesn't produce. If you let that person leave, then you've lost that person plus all those draft picks. So it's almost like you've gone too far down the street to turn around. Versus make that U-turn and go back up the street. I'd rather make the right turn, make the right turn, make the right turn, and end up back there because I've gone too far. It's like that GPS where you go the wrong way long enough, they give you a new route.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like people, GMs. I think that's the death sentence for a GM. We trade all these assets or all these players, and then we end up losing the player that we traded all that for in 3 years, and now we don't have those draft picks or those assets or that player. That to me is the death sentence for a general manager, and that's why they're so slow to do it. That's why Embiid is going to get another re-up on his contract when the time comes, and all these players are going to get re-upped it. But I think when you look at it, how many players have significant injuries like that and end up coming back and playing majority of the season for major years? Like I think Anthony Davis last year, he played a lot of games. They called him what, Mr. Glass, street clothes and all of that. But I think he played like 70 something games last year. For him, that was great. But this year he's back to being hurt. He was doing well with the Lakers. And now that he's in Dallas, he's hurt on and off, or on and off, on and off. I just think once a player has a major injury or they show an injury profile, I don't know if that player is going to ever be who we expect them to be because it seems like they just keep getting hurt.
Question. I was trying to get Miss Smith to get Gary Beatty to try to be on one of our podcasts to talk to an old trainer to understand why are we getting so many of these injuries? Like, I don't think it's just flat out they used to run more, that they used to work out or lift harder weights. I think it's on one thing I've joked about people wearing slides and Crocs, walking around half the day, jumping around and doing stuff with no support on the ankles and whatever else. But at the same time, you didn't used to be able to come back from these injuries, a torn ACL or MCL. Now they're coming back, but they seem to be happening at a greater rate. Is it the footwork? Is it the weight imbalance? Is it, as Miss Smith will say, these girls' bodies aren't developed, they aren't shaped the way for them to be trying to make some of these movements? Or even like with Juju, I've seen her take that elongated step for so long that it scared me when I first saw it. To see it now and see the injury happen, you go, well, it was almost inevitable. Like Kawhi landed on that one foot, messed up a thigh. A thigh went to a knee. And now, luckily, he hasn't had hip problems. But once that knee got hit again by the guy at the Jazz a couple years ago, he's barely played that many games in 2 seasons. So do we go, you cut my story back real quick. Do we go, hey, this guy is protecting his long-term future as he should? Or are we asking people to be Isaiah Thomas and give up your career to play as hard as you can?
Well, a couple things. One, I think if I'm paying you to go hard this season, you got to go hard this season. If you want me to pay you for another season, you got to go hard that season. I don't get to give you half effort and expect full paycheck. I mean, that's just life, right? The Bible says, a man is worth his wages, a worker's worth his wages. So If you're gonna work, you get paid. But I think there has to be something that the team can do to recoup some of their money back because they're not getting ticket sales are going to be affected by player availability. Sorry, when LeBron is not playing against whoever, people don't buy as many tickets. So everything is affected by you not being there except for your contract. So I have a problem with that. In terms of why the injuries are so prevalent, I think the movements are so unnatural now. The movements are not, you have fewer kids playing tag, fewer kids playing hide and seek, fewer kids jumping off slides, fewer kids playing tackle football in the street. And so everything is trained in optimal conditions.
Tackle football in the street.
We don't know. We don't know. We don't know. Huh?
Said sideline pop.
Sideline. Hey, we don't know. Seen somebody or been the one who threw a pass in the middle of the street and the dude caught the ball and ran into the car. Poop.
Mm-hmm. But he still held on to the ball.
Still held on to the ball. Got up, was good. Shoot. I remember my homeboy Gumby, man. We were playing football in the street. He got hit by a car. He got knocked over the bushes, flew all across over the bushes. And, he healed up, became, one of the best high school basketball players we had around, But my point is when you take away, and to me, man, I tell you, my Bible ain't ever lied. Train a child in the way that they must go, and when they're old, they will not depart from it. You take it from an athletic point of view. You take away all these opportunities for the musculature, for the bones, for the ligaments, for the tendons to learn how to swivel and turn and twist and flex. You take away all that sandlot time, playground time, tag, hide and seek, not hide and go get it, hide and seek, capture the flag. And then you give these kids all of these unnatural movements. We're talking about this elongated Euro step. Now you see the twist to that is the slow motion version of the Euro. 1, 2, stand on the second foot. Then shoot it. So when you throw all of these things into combination, in agreement with the fact that they're wearing the slides and they're wearing the Crocs, which are discouraging athletic movement, not giving any support. And then you're asking these kids to play faster, to be faster than we've ever been, to play more awkwardly than we've ever played with this footwork and its steps. There used to be a time where some of the footwork we have today, they used to call that traveling. Some of the ball handling, they call that carrying, palming. They showed a video, and I hope that it's cut, but I saw it on Instagram, and it showed LeBron take 7 steps to a dunk. Mm-hmm. He caught the ball on the wing at like half court, and you thought he was going to take a dribble and take 3 steps. He faked the dribble. It took 6 steps. It wasn't even called a travel. So you're just looking at.
I saw a video of Dominique doing a regular, not even a Euro, just a regular. Oh, was I going right? No, I'm going left. And they called travel on him when he did it. And it's like, you sit here and talk about these old guys and what they couldn't do. The rules kept them from doing that stuff. Like now. And I've had a problem with Candace when she used to do this because a step through is a travel. If you pick that pivot foot up off the ground, it's a travel. Either jump off 2 feet or don't jump at all. It's not a hard thing for me. But to watch the NBA let them get away with this now?
Yeah.
And then give them a foul when they do it. You get me in the air, and now you already took a 3rd step, and I come down on you, and you get a foul and one from me.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So I look at that being the reason why you got so many injuries. I mean, you think about how soft practices have become. You want to bring back the physicality in the league, and they have made the game more physical. They have allowed it to be more physical than recent years past. but you're decreasing practice time. And so it's almost like saying that a kid can't study the stuff that they're going to do on the test. We can't practice hard, uh, but we can't take those bumps. We got to shorten practice, certain physical, limitations, and then you expect for them to go play when people are bigger, just as big, faster, stronger than ever. So to me, it's only inevitable. The human body has its limitations, just like everything else. And you're pushing those limitations. And so you're going to increase the injury profiles, especially when you're not training the body when it's young to make this movement. So to me, that's where the injuries come. On the female side, I think the women are emulating the men. And I do think that there's something to the hormonal differences that happen in a woman's body that do affect growth, mood, physical ability. And I do think it's something to yeah, all of that. As nutrition is dispersed differently, that affects the strength of ligaments and tendons. And then also you do have a different body structure for young ladies than you do for men. And not everybody, no one has the same exact body structure. But when you talk about the prevalence of the wideness of the hip position or the way the legs sit within the sockets of the hip, I do think that there's something there. But I also think with our young ladies, their footwork and their musculature is underdeveloped in terms of them participating in things when they're young and being exposed. The same thing that's happening to the men are happening to the girls, but then you have these other factors that now make it exaggerated with the young ladies. So, I mean, for me, it's devastating because I have a girl out with an ACL now, had a girl a couple years ago. She tore her ACL twice. Um, we got a football player here right now who tore his ACL twice. Um, it just sucks to see kids go through that stuff. And they're training more specifically than ever, but I think you found converse um, effects. The more specifically you train, the more prone it seems like our athletes are to injuries. So I think going back to doing the varied multiple sports, I think that has value.
Man, that was so skinny. If I hadn't been in football, I don't know what hits I would have learned how to take. Put them pads on, knock somebody down once or twice, and then you go, hold on, that's not happening again. I was a little demon when it came to tackling after that. But
Uh-huh.
guess what? I couldn't even play because I didn't even make weight.
Oh,
And
wow.
it didn't matter. Next practice, you're still trying to knock somebody's head off. Because as you say, practice was supposed to be harder than the game.
Yes.
We practice 2 to 3 times a week to come play this one game for an hour. You supposed to put in more work in practice than you do in the game. So hell, I'm not saying you're supposed to elbow each other in practice, but like you say, you've seen the players. I'm not sure if you've done it, where you got coaches hitting them with the karate pads and stuff like that when they're doing layups and whatever else. They need contact, but it's not in game. It's not in motion. They're not doing it at full speed. Hell, half practices. I don't even see going at half speed. And you're telling somebody to run, and we're seeing lack of effort from 2 minutes inside of practice. Motivation is one of the hardest things to give out as a coach, trainer, or whatever else you might be doing. I used to ask this one girl and a few of them, tell me something you can do that excites you all by yourself. Like nobody else has to be involved. I don't care if it's making flowers, shoes, t-shirts, whatever. Take that and be able to concentrate on how you feel when you do that. Now, when you come to the game, lock into that feeling and see what else we can achieve. Because I can't sit here and motivating you 3 to 4 different times during the game when I got 10, 12 other players I'm trying to motivate. But if you're the leader and you're lacking motivation, you're just draining the rest of the motivation from everybody else. So,
Well,
as I said, we're still.
the most motivating thing that they have right now is taking naps. I asked my class yesterday because we started spring break today. What are you going to do? What are you guys decided to do? They said to sleep all day. That would be answer number one if it was on Family Feud, to sleep all day. to sleep all day. So once again, we couldn't wait to get out to go ride a bike, to go to
Mhm.
the beach, to go do something, to go have an activity, go to sleep. I remember we used to knock kids for playing video games all day. Now kids are not even talking about wanting to play video games, just wanting to sit on Instagram, just wanting to emulate TikToks or take naps.
I could have never been told, hey, when you get older or 10 years from now, instead of as much time as you playing video games, there'll be 10 times as many people watching other people play video games. Not to even learn how to do it themselves, just for their so-called entertainment. And that's why I go, you're not even trying. Like, go pick up the remote and go get beat up by the character, then come watch something and see somebody do it to get past it. PlayStation did a thing that made it so easy where if you're playing a video game, you can hit one button and get recommendations, YouTube videos, and a bunch of other stuff for the game. People are so lazy they're not using it. They're backing off on using that term, but they're forcing the new developers to make sure they put it as a base part of their game. We didn't spend this money on this technology that y'all not gonna use. We didn't sign up to try to put something out that either y'all gonna help us make money with it or you're not. So just on that note, get ready to close it out. But right now, I'm number one in California and number one in LA in racing, Gran Turismo. My steering wheel went out on me twice. I've been crashed out of 2 races. And I'm still sitting here looking at the last round like, should I do it or not? Because it's pissing me off. These people can't seem to keep up with what they said they was going to do. Try hard and let's just race. I had this dude take me out right at the end of one of the last races or right at the beginning of the race. And then at the very end of the race, send me a message saying sorry. I damn near broke so much stuff. It's like, man, I'm too involved in certain things, but some stuff I try to step back from and go, it's not gonna emotionally get me. It's not gonna be the most important thing I do. And man, so I'm working with some people that's actually gonna put somebody in a real race car at the end of the year. Racing online, they're gonna put somebody in the car. Might have to travel to the UK to do it, but I'm working with a few people trying to get scholarships in high schools and colleges for racing to give them an easier chance because it just costs too much money to make it there professionally. Unlike basketball and some other stuff that you can work on by yourself, you can't just get in a car and go drive around the track and expect to
I
get
saw
good.
the movie. That movie was one of my favorite movies last year, Gran Turismo.
I entered that way back when I entered that competition.
Wow. Wow. That's dope. So is that a true story? Did that person actually win it or did those people actually win it and go and actually get that opportunity?
That story is so true. That kid, he actually has a black dad and a white mom. In that race where they showed him crash, someone died. He killed someone in one of his earlier races alongside the track. Something happened and an audience member died, and he was ready to quit. It was
Wow.
a story that the guy told him to come back, but in real life, that kid, Jan Yarsborough, he's still racing. He is still racing to
Wow.
this day.
That's dope. That's dope. Yeah, that was one of my
Sometimes
favorite
you got to
movies.
give people a chance.
That is dope.
Yeah, so I'm working with a few guys that's hoping to be able to try to reproduce the same thing. We're working with a team called Scorpio Motorsports who've been racing like almost like Formula One cars for a bunch of years. So they're looking to put in a couple of different drivers at the end of the year, get some more sponsorship. So that's one of the things I've been working on with. But let's definitely say, what did we say? Sunday?
Well, we said Saturday, but I don't
Saturday.
know if we
Okay.
were able to finish this up or not, or how you feel about it. But let me see. We went darn near
In
two
two
and a
hours.
half hours.
Yeah. So definitely, yeah, I was able to get this other phone to log back. It didn't work. So I'll definitely do some editing. I'll send you the link to this one either way. But by Monday, I should have this up on 3 different sites. So we'll have the YouTube, Kick, and Fanbase all going.
Okay. Well, I'm down with it. If there's ever something I need to do with the background, let me know. I know that light is pretty bright back there. But just let me know before we get started so I can have it going.
Oh yeah, no worry. This is a different phone. That's the only reason I have this little picture I put behind me before. So I didn't waste time trying to figure out how to turn it off. But yeah, we'll get everything set and keep it pushing. Like I say, any specific topics you want to go over or set up for, just let me know and we'll get everything done. But I'm gonna make sure I get the video to break this all into clips for me too.
Okay. Cool, cool. Well, all right, my brother, good luck with the when are you racing again?
Saturday. So that's the actual thing where I messed up. I race on Wednesday and Saturday, 5, 7, and 9. But those are 3 chances. If I do good in one, I can just stop. So that's what's been over the weeks. I've been trying to make sure we fit it in right between between those times and keep on pushing. But like I say, I'm doing well. I'm not going to win. I'm still going to be number 1 in California, but I'm not going to any of the championships. I might be able to get an invite for the next series, but like I say, still pushing through and trying to make sure. Same thing with this. Help somebody else for the future. What can I do? How can I push this on for someone else to be able to get the sponsorship? So got a few people I'm talking to in baseball and whatever else about sponsoring for some baseball teams or even Miss Smith to get a tournament going on. So definitely pushing forward and definitely thank you for having this and look forward to make sure we keep it on schedule and we'll keep it where we need to be.
Yeah, I love it. It's been on me, man, because I've just been tremendously busy, but I'm excited about this, man. So yeah, once you get it cut and edited and all of that, please let me know and I can help promote it and put it out there.
Definitely look forward to it. And like I say, good luck with what you got coming up. Anything you need me to help on or just check in with, anytime.
Absolutely. So are we going tomorrow or not?
If you want to, I can definitely. But like I said, I have the races. The last race will be tomorrow, 5, 7, and 9. So right now, I might not be able to do the later ones because of where I was doing that over at the WeWork. It's just not conducive for a lot of the streaming. And then back over at my place, the steering wheel went out on me too many times, and I ain't trying to deal with some of the stuff. So yeah, I'll keep pushing. But if you want to do tomorrow, just let me know a good time, and say I'll fit it in. It's only got to do one of the 3 races, as long as I do.
Okay. Well, good luck tomorrow, man. Praying for your success.
Definitely, thank you, man. Like I say, look forward to it, and let's meet up for lunch or dinner by next weekend.
Let's do it. All right, man. I'm out this week for spring break. So I might go out of town Sunday through Tuesday. I should be back. So anytime next week after that, I'm good.
Sounds great, man. I'll make sure I hit you at it. I'll
All
send
right,
you the
man.
emails either way. All right,
All right.
thanks, man.
All right, man. Peace.